Well, hello and welcome once again to the DCL Podcast, where we're inviting you to sit back, relax, and we'll be on our way shortly.
Well, welcome back to the DCL Podcast, your podcast to cruise a little smarter. I'm your host, Lake, and I am joined by my co-host, Christy. Christy, how are you today?
I am well, Lake. How are you?
Doing pretty good. I am very excited about this episode.
You are. You say that every episode.
I do say that every episode because every episode's exciting. We get to talk about cruising.
Right? This is so great. And this episode is kind of extra fun because you really realized that we did not have any recordings or cruises on the Disney Magic. And you were like, we need some love for the magic. So you put it out on our Instagram page and we got a ton of responses.
Yes. I mean, a lot of amazing cruises. Thank you to everyone who did respond and continues to use that form. It is super helpful in our scheduling. Yes. Mm-hmm. But this one was super intriguing to me because, you know, we talk a lot about sailing out of Fort Lauderdale, sailing out of Port Canaveral. And for us, that's our local cruises. But for our guest, it is not. It's a pretty big, at least in my head, a pretty big travel destination cruise. And we will find out our guest's thoughts on that, if that holds true or not to them. But with that, we would like to welcome Maggie to the show. Maggie, how are you today?
Hello, guys. I am great. Thank you very much. And thank you for having me.
Yeah, thank you so much for coming on the show. We are excited to talk about all things Disney magic and cruising today. Why don't you begin by telling our guests first where you're from and how you went about booking this sailing and a little bit about your Disney and cruising background.
Yeah, hiya. I am Maggie McCann, and I'm from Ireland, which is the north end of Ireland. So Armagh is our county. We have been Disney fans and traveling to Disney many times, but this was a big super trip for us because this was for my 40th birthday. And it was a total surprise. So my husband organized the whole trip, had the family in on it, basically organized the whole everything, you know. So it was traveling from our airport, which is Dublin, straight to Orlando. And we drove basically from Orlando to Fort Lauderdale.
A surprise cruise from Ireland. That's involved.
Yeah.
When did you find out?
He had this on like the start of 2024. And he just basically, when the year came in, he just said, look, these are the 2 weeks I need you to book off. Lucky enough, we work for a family business. So the boss is my dad. We were able to get the 2 weeks off. That's all I knew. Literally, that's all I knew. So realistically, I didn't know like if I was bringing winter stuff or if I was bringing still summer stuff, because like we would normally have traveled to Florida around that time of year in previous years. But I still didn't know what type of I had to pack. So I just literally just threw caution to the wind and just was like, right, okay, these are the 2 weeks that I've got off. And then because it was my 40th year and we were doing extra things with the family, he had actually taken me away for a couple of nights away to the North Coast. And basically he had everything organized what way he was going to tell me. He had like parceled up this huge big parcel, which I thought it was a hamper, because it was a cabin we were staying in the woods. So I thought this was a hamper full of, you know, s'mores and, you know, things like this. And it wasn't until he got me to open it. It was Disney mini wrapping paper. And when I opened it, it was then a very small hand luggage Mickey and Friends suitcase. So I was like, right, okay, lovely suitcase. He knows I love everything Disney. And when I opened it up, it was all like wee trinkle boxes. So he had like Disney ears, he had Disney earrings, he had a Disney ring, and everything I had to open up in sync.
Yeah.
And the last part, he told me to unzip the inside of the suitcase. And in that was an envelope and it was a card. And then it was a little makeshift boarding card and basically a whole spiel of, you know, this is where you're going to and this is where we're traveling, and we're on the Disney Magic and it's a 4-night cruise and it's Halloween on the high seas. And yeah, that was the end of July. So within the end of July to September 30th, that was my window of going, oh my God, I'm going on a cruise. Oh my God, I'm going on a Disney cruise.
That's so exciting.
Yeah.
So from when you found out that you were going on this cruise, what information did you use to get yourself ready?
Oh, I was like literally overload. I was completely overload. So again, he had all this planned within the 2-night stay of where we were in the cabins. So he knew that there was already a projector there. And so he had all his YouTube that he had been researching on YouTube. So he had it all on his reel. So basically the projector screen came down in the cabin and there we were just watching away at YouTube and researching. And he actually thought one of the stops we were going to be in Disney's Castaway Cay because he was really intrigued the fact that you could run, the 5K or something. And when he realized that it was to Disney's Lookout Cay at Lighthouse Point and Nassau, he was disheartened for me, because he thought I was really up for Castaway Cay. And I'm like, hold on, rewind. The fact is that I'm going on a Disney cruise. And the fact is that this was a surprise. Minnie's going to be on this ship. I'm okay.
Oh,
It was a ton of research. And again, as I said, my husband's called Gary. So as I said to Gary, I didn't want to do too much research, especially on the magic. So I knew the magic was the first of the fleets. So I knew that already was going to be such a magical moment of like, oh my days. So I knew that, but I didn't want to go too much research because I wanted to be surprised as well.
Yeah.
So, I dipped in every now and again. And, so it was really, really fun, and that month, almost 2 months, went in super quick because then I got on it that I knew that got the app. So I got the countdown on the app. I got a reservation. I was able to know about more things. And when I found out the theme, I was like, oh, I automatically have to, make our t-shirts. I have to automatically make everything, everything. I have to get all on the ball basically. So it was actually quite fun. So I think I overload the Disney fun factor for Gary. I think he was just enjoying me. Just in a whirlwind.
This is great. So turning towards the sailing, did you fly in the day or night before then and drive down? Or did you do any like pre-stay?
Well, we done pre-stays. So again, he wanted it to be like a fortnight stay. So he organised it that we were flying from Dublin then to Orlando. So when we got to Orlando, we drove to Furrow Beach. We stayed in Furrow Beach for one night. And then the next day we left Furrow Beach and we drove to Fort Lauderdale and we stayed there 2 nights before, which was great because...
Yeah, where did you stay in Fort Lauderdale?
So we stayed in the Bay Ocean.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah. And we booked it and the person that he booked it through, it was great. And she had never stayed there personally herself, but was highly recommended of a hotel. And it was just perfect. It was a perfect experience as well because that particular hotel, had its own like beach section as well. So we were able to have those mornings out on the beach in our own sun loungers and just take it all in. And then that Monday, the 30th, then we were ready to board the ship. So it was actually quite nice, because again, doing the research that Gary had done, and people did recommend, if it is your first cruise, maybe come in the night before, if you could do the 2 nights before. It was actually quite nice that happened.
Yeah.
Was there anything you did in Fort Lauderdale that was like a highlight for you?
Again, I think just being in Fort Lauderdale, Flight of the Navigator was recorded there as well. So it was actually quite cool to know that you were in somewhere like, a movie was as well. And Gary is celiac. So that was absolutely great too. There was a lot of, great food places. There was a lovely Italian pizza place that they were just absolutely amazing for him. All the food, it was able to accommodate for the allergy. And again, the marina, there was a marina boat had just recently opened. They had just launched it that mid-September. So it was actually quite cool to be on one of the boats that's just stations there at the marina and just go on and have a wee drink and just take in all the ambience, because we were really, really lucky when we arrived. We missed the first storm. So by the time we got to Fort Lauderdale, the storm had passed. The first storm had passed. So the weather was absolutely beautiful. We were very lucky.
Love that. Well, why don't we turn towards getting on the ship? What was the embarkation process like for you? And was there anything in that process that was a surprise to you?
Yeah, The surprise for me, which is a Disney thing anyhow, it really doesn't matter what age you are, because it has that whole pixie dust magical phenomenon just takes over you. So it was the factor that when you arrived, because we taxied from our airport to the port, and when we arrived, the most welcoming you got from the cast member that basically took your suitcases basically, and just gave you your ticket, told you that that's fine, everything's under control, your bags will be at your stateroom. And again, getting to witness families, like we don't have our own family, but to get to witness families with their kids and take that all in, and then walking through the different stages when you got in through the main doors and you saw the line and you saw the whole, like basically you were inside almost like a mini makeshift ship when you're standing in the port waiting, and just taking that all in and just looking around. And I was like, oh my days, Gary, like this is completely oh my days. Because fun fact, when we very first saw the Disney Magic ship, we actually saw that many years ago when it actually was in Liverpool. We would go to Liverpool in England quite a lot. And that particular weekend that we were there, the Magic had actually docked up at the Albert Docks. And I had actually said to Gary, this is dream. I'm manifesting. We're going to be on a Disney cruise. We are going to be on that ship. I can see myself partying with Mickey and Minnie and friends. I can see that. So then flash forward to September 2024 and being there. And I turned around to him and I was like, can you remember me telling you that I am manifesting one day that we are going to be on that ship? And we are actually standing here.
Well, what was it like then boarding the Disney Magic for the first time?
Oh, it was just completely magical. Gary had been recording, which I didn't realize. So when we were walking through the last door with the Mickey shaped door, and we had said like, bye-bye, to the man with the Mickey hands that stands there. And I happened to just look around. And then when we were walking up the walk tunnel, and I looked over and I actually saw Disney's cruise port sign on the actual building. And I turned around to Gary and Gary was recording me. So he actually took in my magical kind of like surprise moment in my face. And we had this cute little family in front of us. And I was just taking it in their excitement as well, which was absolutely amazing. And then to go through that you're on the ship. And the first thing I saw was the Halloween tree. And I was just like, oh my days, this is so amazing. And because I knew that this particular thing happened, because I researched this, when you are family named announced, and we spoke with the cast member, and then whenever you heard Disney Magic Cruise welcomes the McCann family, and tears literally was dripping in my eyes, and I turned around to Gary and I was just like, thank you. I just can't believe it. Again, it's Disney. It doesn't matter what age you are. You just have that magical moment.
It's really true though, isn't it? Like I was trying to tell somebody, like, why is Disney Cruise different than other cruise lines? And it's just that magical feeling. And when you walk out, or you walk onto a ship, or you walk out of your stateroom door and you hear that Disney music piping through the speakers, there's just something about that. This is so great.
You're right, Christy. It's just completely, it just morphs you. Just, if you were having like a Debbie Downer or a good start to a day, and then automatically you hear that, it just puts a smile from ear to ear. So it does. It really, really does.
Well, a lot of our worst days on a cruise is better than our best days on land. So
yep.
You get on the Magic. Where do you head first?
Well, we actually went, when we first went through, and after we were announced, we were still in the foyer and taking pictures of obviously the atrium and obviously the gold Mickey. And then I had said to Gary, I'm going to go to the reception to see if they do such a thing as celebrating your first cruise buttons, like badges. And I got speaking to a cast member, and obviously then I couldn't get one for the cruise. And I had said, right, well, will we do a tour around the atrium first of all? Because it was really busy, and I was slightly overwhelmed a wee bit because I was like in it with all the excitement, and I was looking around and the decorations of the Halloween. And then we just physically went around that floor and took everything in, and then we done it level by level, so then we could see where everything was in terms of like what floor had what dining and where the different bars was and the theatre and the shops, and just taking it all in as well and getting used to my app. So it was great too, knowing that you didn't have your luggage with you as well, which I thought was absolutely great. They had that all under control.
What kind of stateroom did you book, and how did that work for you?
Well, again, Gary was just, all his research that he had done, and because it was his first one, so we done an inside cabin with the porthole, and it was perfect. Yeah, it was absolutely perfect. Our room was 2004, just looking at our little room key here, 2004. And that was actually quite lovely too, because we were married in 2007. So that was actually quite nice that, it was very similar to our wedding year, like only a couple of years difference. So yeah, it was absolutely, I couldn't get over, for being an inside porthole room. It was massive. Like, we had a large bed there. It was like a double bed, and it had a sofa bed. So it was fit for a family as well. And again, this was our first cruise. So we had never anything to compare with. Like, I had friends that went on cruise. My sister done a cruise on her honeymoon to the Mediterranean, but we had nothing ever to compare ourselves with. So we were going in newbies, taking everything in. And I just couldn't get over how spacious everything was. You weren't crammed. You could hang all your stuff up. There was room for your suitcases everywhere. And where the sofa was, we had a lovely table and a lovely desked area. So again, if you just wanted to have a wee drink in your room and just relax and look out the window, it was just absolutely beautiful.
Awesome. Well, why don't we stick with the ship for a little while and just get your overall thoughts on sailing on the Magic? What were some highlights and what were some of your favorite spaces aboard?
Oh, there's so many to choose from. Funny, just before I came on the call, I accidentally was talking to this with Gary. Was there any highlights that he had with it? His first reaction was, he was like, it was to see you happy. It was to see you at your happiness. But again, for me, the Magic, not only because it was the first of their fleet, it's a big thing, the Magic, but again, the lovely welcome that you had when you came onto the ship from every single cast member. It didn't matter if it was the ones on the port or the ones on the ship. It was just absolutely wonderful experience, and going around the floors and seeing where the different themed restaurants, for me, that was beautiful. And an area that I really did love was an area just before the Tangled restaurant was the porthole windows that you can actually sit in. And I absolutely just thought that was really, really lovely. Again, if you just wanted to have a few seconds to yourself, just take it all in and just look out, that was just absolutely, beautiful. It was just breathtaking, and I hadn't even docked out of the place yet. So for me, that was just absolutely amazing. And then seeing the theatre as well, knowing that they had the theatre, Broadway style theatre on the ship, that was a big moment for me, really, like it was just completely magical. I love that.
So moving into specifically what you did throughout your week, like what type of activities did you and your husband get up to during your 4-night cruise?
So we were looking to do pre-booking things on the app. And there was one particular activity that I wanted to do, and that was sold out. So whenever I kind of researched that, a lot of diehard Disney cruisers would have always pre-booked this first of all. So I was like, right, that wasn't meant to be. And obviously that was an 18 thing. And I was like, right, well, that wasn't meant to be. Whatever will be, we'll have a bit of fun. And what I loved about the meals, it was the rotation. So we got to sit with two lovely couples. One was from Rhode Island, one was from Maine, and they were absolutely lovely. Shout out to Leanne and Richard from Rhode Island. They were brilliant. And they then became our trivia companions on nearly every trivia and quiz night. So we absolutely loved that. And it was lovely because they do Disney cruises quite often. And it was lovely that the advice that they gave us to take things in and just experience, as they had said, just experience it yourself. Just go around the ship and do what you want. But, the trivia nights and the quiz nights is absolutely great. So we really enjoyed that because you got to be involved with a lot of people. And the ship director even came down one night too. So I got to speak to her. I actually said to her, like, absolutely amazing for celiac. I couldn't get over because they just literally wrapped him up, no problem at all. Yeah, so it was great. So the quiz nights, the trivia nights was really, really fun because the cast members actually really made that as well. Like, and how quick they come back at you. It was just real fun.
Was there any other activities that were a highlight for you on the ship? Did you also do any like time up on the pool decks, and what were your thoughts on those spaces?
Oh yeah, we've done plenty of those. I done the duck slide and everything, so that was actually quite cool. Yeah, so the adult pool area was, again, we don't have a family, but to experience that particular area was lovely. Again, how much, even though it's a Disney cruise, family child orientated, how it accommodates for adults, because there was loads of adults there with no kids, and how they accommodate that and have that area. And it was just really relaxing, because then you were like, I'm literally anywhere in the world, but I'm on a cruise at the minute, cruising away, just sitting, relaxing. And again, how there was so much space, I loved it too, that there was nothing ever, I didn't feel cramped. Yes, it's the smallest ship of the fleet, but there was the room, you never felt cramped, and everyone was just, talking to everyone, and, but everyone as well was mindful of everyone relaxing, stuff like that. And again, the friendly of the bar, the cast members at the bar were lovely. And again, the rapport that they had with you, and the time that there was genuine time for you, which was really, really lovely. And I loved also too that the walk around the pools and where the Cove Cafe and everything is there too. So the teas and the coffees and the soft drinks, like, that was brilliant. You were never done without. The quality that was on the ship was just phenomenal. I absolutely loved that.
Yeah, the adult sections of the Magic of the Wonder, I think, are, in my personal opinion, the best adult pool areas of all the ships, for sure. Like, it's just a very nice big space. Cove is right there. Like, everything is just condensed into one nice lump space. And then they also typically have live music out there during the times, which I also absolutely love.
Why don't we move into Halloween on the high seas? Your sailing was a Halloween on the high seas sailing. What Halloween activities, if any, did you get into?
Well, so we obviously got involved in the dress-up night, which was actually quite fun. So I themed our outfits together. So I did. So we were both a Mickey and a Minnie mommy style t-shirt printed on us. And I had a little pair of Minnie ears, which was like mommy styled as well. My rest of my outfit was an orange tutu. So I was very much like the orange and black, all themed. Gary had his t-shirt on. Didn't get no ears on him. The t-shirt was enough for him. So we really enjoyed with that, with the dress up, because then that particular night after trivia night, there was a dress up competition as well. So that was actually quite fun to be, involved in that. And watching the people that was completely themed dressed from head to toe. Like, there was this couple was completely amazing. Like, they were the Atrium and they were Pluto, or Goofy, sorry. So they were basically the ship's mascots. So the girl was completely gold Mickey, and it was absolutely amazing. And just to witness how everyone went above and beyond the willingness of the excitement that it was a themed ship. It was just absolutely amazing. And again, for Gary to have surprised me on this cruise was amazing too, because me and my family, we love Halloween and we love dressing up and we love making our stuff. So to have been on the cruise with that theme as well, it was brilliant. So it was really, really good.
Love it. Well, why don't we move towards entertainment? What shows did you see on board, and what were your thoughts on them?
Oh, I was absolutely buzzing, because Tangled is one of my favorites. So getting to see the Tangled show was absolutely brilliant. It was really, really good. Out of all the shows, that was the one that I wanted to see over the 4 days. So again, that was phenomenal of getting to see that. And, again, the theatre was packed. There was nobody willing to be there. It was just amazing. The cast members interacting with you before the show had started as well. It was brilliant. It is a Broadway style theatre. That's how they say it is, because it is that. Everything that you experienced in a theatre, seeing a theatre show, was right there on the ship. It was just phenomenal. It was a pinch me moment for me because, like I say, I love Tangled. Like, I'm a Beauty and the Beast girl. I love that. That's my diehard film. But Tangled is right up there. So again, to have that themed restaurant on the Magic as well, and I done my Disney bound outfit corresponded to Rapunzel as well. So that was really magical seeing that show. I was just like, oh, I actually just saw that show. So, I really, really enjoyed that.
Love it. Did you see any other shows as well?
Well, I saw a couple of movies. I saw Inside Out 2, but I didn't see any other shows that particular cruise. So the Tangled theater performance was the only one I got to see.
And did you do any like listening to music in lounges?
A funny story. We had actually went back to the room on the evening that the silent disco was going to go on, and I was really up for that. And I think just times, like, even though like we need the time, I just don't know what happened. I think we just were enjoying something beforehand, and then all of a sudden it was like, oh, that was starting. So we never got the silent disco. But then we went to Gills, and there was a bit of some music there, and that was really, really nice because we were on the 8:15, 8:30 dining rotation. So it was actually quite nice having a little bit of music, beforehand. And then they had the live singers and piano playing in the atrium. So it was lovely just sitting and taking that all in before going to the meals, because then you knew after the meals you were going to go somewhere else and hear different types of music. It was lovely. It was just lovely just hearing all different types of music.
Yeah, I love the live music on Disney ships, especially I would say the classic ships really shine in that department.
So let's go ahead and turn towards dining then. You've got rotational dining with Lumiere's, Rapunzel's Royal Table, and Animator's Palette. What were your overall thoughts on dining, and what were some highlight dishes for you?
Oh dear. The dining was great. So when we had everything on our app, and I had contacted Disney Cruise before we were to fly out just to confirm a few wee things for Gary, and they had said that you're on the later rotation dining, and is that okay? And I was like, yep, absolutely. This is our first cruise. I'm going with the flow. So that was perfect. So when we realized that we were on the later rotation dining, it was lovely, because then, especially on the day of embarking the ship, you knew that you were relaxed and you were able to do things. So our first meal was in Tango's Royal Palace, and it was just amazing because that was the day that I saw the show, and going into that restaurant themed in my Disney bound dress, all loving life. I had my little Pascal ear on, and then again getting to see a bit of like Tangled entertainment during the meal was just phenomenal, because even the interior was just the movie. Everything was just the movie, and that was just really, really magical. And then getting to meet your rotating dining guests, beside you was really lovely, because speaking to people that had cruised before, and not just other cruises but to Disney Cruise, that was really, really, really lovely, because I didn't realize that you could have on your dining rotation with other strangers. So I really liked that, because I like meeting people and their love of Disney as well. So that was really wonderful. We then went to Lumiere's. So out of the rotation, we went to Lumiere's. It was twice out of our rotation. So Tangled was once, Lumiere's, and then Animator's Palette was on the last evening. And when we went into Lumiere's, I completely just had like my very first moment of being in Disney World and seeing Beauty and the Beast. I just completely teared up, because again, being in there with the Beauty and the Beast themed, even though it was like Lumiere's, you still had all the decor related to the Rose, related to Mrs. Potts. Everything about it was just amazing. And the food in Lumiere's, in fact, the food in the Tangled themed restaurant was absolutely beautiful, because I tried something different that I had never went before as well. And that was absolutely amazing. It was absolutely beautiful. And again, I'm not really a dessert person, but I went ahead and had the dessert as well. And then the Lumiere's, the a la carte theme style was wonderful. And again, Anthony, and I forget her other person's name, but Anthony was absolutely great, our waiter, because again, he took Gary under his wing and was on the ball of telling Gary, absolutely anything on this you can get gluten-free, not even a problem. So that was a wonderful experience, in Lumiere's as well, just absolutely, because it was that a la carte type style dining, the napkin put on your knee and stuff like that. So that was actually quite fun to experience that. And again, the food was just amazing. And then Animator's Palette on our last evening was lovely. I was looking forward to really that restaurant because of the whole artist theme, seeing the brushes as the, standing up, and the Mickey style chairs. It was just really, really fun. And then having that, Fantasia display moment when Mickey comes out and the walls are speaking to you and everything is themed. It was just beautiful. Again, the food was just beautiful. Like, I took a 3-course meal, the whole time in all the restaurants.
Where did you guys end up for breakfast and lunch during your cruise?
Yeah, so breakfast, we had our breakfast in Lumiere's. So that's where our breakfast was served, in Lumiere's. And then our lunches, we had done Cove Cafe as well. And then we went to the main, buffet area. So we went to there because, again, the food was just absolutely amazing. It was really, really amazing. And both of us loved the crab legs. Strangely enough, it seemed to be very popular because the queue at that particular section was always busy. So I think there was a lot.
Did you have crab legs more than one time or just on the first day?
No, more than one time. Yeah.
Oh, great.
We did, yeah. There was a good couple of afternoons that we had the crab legs there, which was great. I actually was just really taken aback with the amount of food that they had in the buffet area. It was brilliant. And then the different styles of food as well, which was great. And again, for celiacs, it was amazing because they were able to sort Gary out whatever he needed.
Perfect. So then let's jump into your ports. Your cruise stopped in Nassau. Did you guys have anything planned? Did you get off the ship in Nassau?
We got off the ship in Nassau, yeah. We had nothing planned in Nassau at all. We just wanted to experience Nassau for the first time to say, wow, we're in the Bahamas. We did. We got off onto the port. And again, that was something new that the port had. So they had the little new kind of like huts that you physically didn't need to go out of the port. So that was actually quite nice to witness that. And then we did want to go out of the port just to witness just walking around the streets. And then we went to a bar just past Senior Frogs, the bar at the ferry inn on the water, just to experience that.
Yeah.
We had a wee cocktail there, and then we came out and just walked through their flea market style. And we just came in from the first door entrance and just walked through it because we just wanted to just take in the experience. So to actually see the side streets when we were walking back onto the port was actually quite lovely. It was really busy, really, there was a lot happening. So we really did enjoy that now.
That's great.
Was there a lot of other ships in port that day?
We actually couldn't get over it. The amount of ships that was there. The Royal Caribbean's The Lure of the Seas was there, and 2 Celebrities was there, and MSC was there. So our ship was basically the last to dock in, to come in, and our ship then obviously was the last to dock out, and we just couldn't get over it, like, because we thought our ship was huge. Then when we saw the other ships, it was like, whoa, absolutely whoa. So when we actually came back on to the ship after going through all the wee markets on the port, and we bought a lovely few wee, memorabilia for family members and for us, Gary was like, well, will we go and sit up on one of the decks and just take it all in? And I went, yeah, let's do that. So we went up on one of the docks and just sat on a sun lounger each and just took it all in of all the other ships. So it was actually quite nice that people that was on their balconies was like waving over to everyone. So we were waving back, loving life. And when the Allure actually, docked out and I saw this like climbing frame, I can actually remember turning around to Gary and going, that's a climbing frame. That's a climbing frame on that ship.
Yeah, you can go climbing. Isn't that great?
Yeah. It was like, oh my days, this is like huge. And then that left. So that was a huge sip. And then the celebrity then went out after that one. And we just couldn't get over it. We were like, this port has physically 5 ships docked here, because when we docked in, we were the last, but there was already one, had came out. So realistically, there was 5 ships there at one point. And I was like, this little port, this island has these amount of people here. I just couldn't get over it.
Yeah, Nassau is, I think, the busiest port in the Bahamas, like by a mile, basically.
For the Bahamas, for sure.
It was really, really busy. And also too, which we absolutely laughed, because again, we saw this on Gary's like YouTube research, the screen where the shark, is coming out in 3D form almost, seeing people queuing up to get the picture with that behind. That was actually, quite fun to witness that as well, because you just automatically thought you were in, Disney, as well, like in one of the parks, and you were on a ride or something. So it was actually quite fun to see that.
Love it. Well, why don't we turn towards Lighthouse Point? What were your expectations for this island?
Well, again, being newbies to a Disney cruise, and also with that island only being introduced to the Disney franchise in June of that year, we knew that it was going to be a new experience for most people that was basically cruising from June of that year. So again, we had no high expectations whatsoever. We were just loving life being on the Disney cruise. But again, looking at research that we had done off the island and how it started, from basically just foraging from basically sand and building it all up bit by bit. It was beautiful. It was absolutely beautiful. And one thing I was looking forward to was the long walk, that when the ship docked in, and that long walk, I was really excited for that. I wasn't daunted.
I don't think anybody's ever said they've been excited by that walk. Lots of people said it's good, but excited, that's a new one. Again, sometimes it's nice to stretch your legs.
Yeah, I think we're walkers, like many people, like, you love walking and stuff like that. But I think it was just the experience, just to see how I coped in really hot weather with a little beach bag over my shoulder and stuff like that. And again, taking it all in, because the fun thing that we loved about when we were docking up at Lighthouse Point was we stood out at one of the decks, and then all of a sudden the cast members all came out, and how well everything was in sync. The cast members came out, then they were all transported, then the food all was transported, and everything was just completely a conveyor belt. It was just so well run. And again, what I loved about it too, that even though we knew what time that we were like disembarking from the ship to go onto the island, they had everything there on the island. So by the time all the patrons were ready to disembark, everything was there ready for you to go. And we did. We absolutely loved it, because again, on the research, we knew obviously what the style of the island was like, and the themed, when we were getting closer to it and hearing the music and hearing the little mascots talking away, it was just, again, it was a pinch me moment. It was, wow, we're on one of the wee Disney islands. It was really magical.
How did you spend your time once you got to the beach?
So initially I had pre-booked us in for a tour, a Segway tour. We were going to do that. And then a couple of days before you were able to change, your itinerary, I decided to cancel it, because the reason being, I had said, Gary, why don't we just experience the island our way? You've opened up a Pandora box now. We're going to be on more Disney cruises, that's for sure. So we can do things like that there in the future. So we wanted to experience it our own way. So we done so much walking. We went down to the areas too that you could privately hire any cabins as well, just to take that all in. And we got speaking to cast members. And then when we got the tram to the beach, we physically then had a good walk around there. And then we went to the main stand theatre area, where they were doing a lot of like, Minnie was coming dancing, and they were doing a lot of kids. It was between the park and one of the main bars. So we decided to stay there, because again, there was walkway to the food and to the drinks and to the toilets as well, the restrooms. And we were in walking distance onto the beach. And when we got everything laid out on the sun lounger, we physically just went out, witnessed the beautiful bluey green water it was and the beautiful white sand. That was one of Gary's highlights. He absolutely loved that. He did. You know, when we constantly stayed in the water, he was like, you could do this all day, every day, just taking this all in.
For real.
Yeah, such a beautiful beach.
So beautiful.
Oh, it is. It's just phenomenal, and it's great. And it's great that there's like a second island now too as well. You know, you have best of both worlds. You know, in December we'll witness now Castaway Cay and what that's like. But it's lovely to know that there's two islands now. And again, the night before of taking Gary's order, Anthony was great. He was like, what all do you need? And Gary was like, sure, burger will do. Anthony was like, no, we'll get this for you. So when it came to getting our lunch physically that day, we couldn't get over it because again, Gary was given 2 plates full of food and everything was celiac friendly. Like everything was celiac friendly. Even eating our food, because again, on the research, there was people saying about the flies, about where you were eating the food, etc., etc. We were really, really lucky. We had no problems with that. We weren't struck down with a storm through the trip whatsoever. The islands and the Bahamas was great. We had no stormy weather. It was sunshine. It was the warmest ever weather we had ever witnessed. So we had no flies when it came to eating our food. You know, they had the fans up everywhere, but regardless of the fans, you know, we weren't affected by it whatsoever. We were able to eat our lunch and enjoy basically loving life, basically eating the lunch. So again, that was another great factor that I thought was really, really good that Disney done. Again, for anyone with allergies, they went above and beyond and they had their own section. Like you went over to there, gave your stateroom number, gave your name, and they're like, no problem at all. Where are you sitting? We'll bring it over to you. And the laugh of it is when Gary's food came, he actually thought the waiter was carrying my food and his food. He couldn't get over that the 2 plates was for himself.
That's great. Are there any other like activities or anything from the Magic that you want to discuss before we turn towards disembarkation?
An involvement, you know, that the ship has with its patrons as well, not just through the app, but again, you can get involved in so many ways. Like again, the character meet and greets, they were so easy managed. Like that was a great activity. All different times of the day, and again, depending on what character was your favorite, was absolutely amazing, because even the evening before disembarking, when they had the magical send away, you know, we'll see you again, we'll see you soon, you know, that was beautiful, because that flashed me back to our sail away party. The sail away party was like an amazing activity that they'd done from start to finish, and getting everyone up to the top of the decks. And yeah, it was going to be a good time, because everyone was just loving life. The cast members was just great and everyone was just involved. So they done that very much on the last evening as well, because their motto was, we'll see you again real soon, which I thought was really, really lovely, you know, and having all the cast members from the theatre production coming out and being introduced, that was lovely, because everyone on the ship was involved in that almost, you know, it was done at the atrium, but there was loads of room for you to watch it and just seeing it in everyone's faces, loving it, you know. So I think the interaction, you know, for me was really, really good. The thing too that I loved about the Magic and on a Disney cruise is there's fun for everyone. Mm-hmm. It doesn't matter if you were a child, a teenager, 20 or an adult. There was something there for everyone. And even when it came to like the sport activities on the top floor as well, I just loved it.
Sadly, your sailing does have to end. How was the disembarkation process and what was your plan for getting home?
Again, that was really magical, because our friends that they became throughout the cruise, Leanne and Richard, they had said that sometimes in the past that they would leave the ship and not have breakfast, and they were doing that particular. So we all said our bye-byes to them the evening before, but we wanted to experience, you know, our last morning of breakfast, and our breakfast that morning was actually an animator's palette. So that was quite lovely to experience that restaurant again, because that was one of the highlights that I was looking forward to, you know, because obviously my background is in art and design. So I was really looking forward to see that restaurant. So that was lovely, and being able to have your breakfast and be able to have the time with your waiters as well, because that was lovely, because when we disembarked our room and we got to say goodbye to our stateroom waiter. You know, he was absolutely amazing. There was nothing that he couldn't do for us the whole stay as well. It was lovely to have that moment with him. So then to have that with your rotation waiters again on the last morning of the breakfast, which I thought that was lovely, because then that gave you a photo opportunity with them to wish them all the best, because you know, some of them were only having 2 more cruises before their contract was being renewed. So they were going onwards and upwards. I enjoyed getting the last wee minute magical experience within that restaurant before disembarking. We then went to the photo area and just sat and waited there until it was basically our time to be called out, you know, because just looking at our ticket, we were goofy. We were the orange. So when we were called out, obviously we were waiting on that. And again, it was just, to me, it was just seamless. It was a bit like, you know, when you embarked the ship through the port, everything was just seamless. I was just taking it all in and was in awe. And again, watching families with their young children just loving life. It was just a lovely, wonderful thing to experience. And I was actually quite sad that we had to get off the ship. I knew the rest of our vacation was still going to be a wee bit longer, you know, because we were going other places. But I was like, this isn't the last time we'll be on a cruise, Gary.
Where did you head after your disembarkation?
So after disembarkation, we were then going to Naples. So we drove across the Everglades. But on the day that we came off the ship, after everything was lovely and everything was great, we got the news that obviously Hurricane Milton done damage in our hotel in our next stop after Naples, which was St. Pete's. So the Doncelar, unfortunately, was closed. We left Fort Lauderdale, went to Naples. We stayed there for 2 nights, and then we were initially then St. Pete's for 2 nights and then Orlando for 2 nights. So it worked out then. We were Orlando for 4 nights after Naples. And there was a 24-hour window that we were hotel bound when we were in Orlando, because obviously Hurricane Milton had other ideas.
Yeah, that was a tough time to be in Florida.
Yeah, it was. But you know what? Like, the thing that we loved about it too is that it never interrupted the cruise whatsoever. And even our time in Fort Lauderdale, we were so lucky that we were able to miss the first storm and just get the end of the last storm just in our last destination as well. We were very thankful for that.
Definitely glad that for the sailing, the weather was very positive. Mm-hmm. Well, before we take us out, I have just a couple more questions for you. First off, were there any other notable cast interactions that you had on board that you wanted to highlight?
Our waiters was just absolutely amazing. You know, our rotation dining, we were very, very lucky with who we had. And again, the director, she was just amazing. And her rapport that she had with every patron on that ship, again, no matter if it was a child or to an adult, she was just lovely. And even the night in O'Gill's bar that I spoke to her, she had time for you, which I thought was lovely. Every cast member that you came across, they had time for you, like genuine conversation time for you, which was absolutely wonderful.
Love it. Well, let's talk first time tips. What is a couple things that you wish you knew before you had done the sailing that you know now?
You don't need to put everything into your wee bag before you go to your stateroom. You know, there's just a little tiny wee backpack, and that's basically all you need, because everything else is basically there for you. We were able to go up and get our food, but having a larger bag, we didn't really need that. We had more things in that bag probably that we didn't need, you know, like our own towels and stuff and all like that, which we didn't need, because obviously they had towels there. So we will know that again. And again, just depending on what time your stateroom is ready, just make sure that, you know, if you wanted to go into the pool right away, to have that with you as well.
Were there any activities that you missed out on that are a must do for you next time?
Oh, definitely the silent disco. Definitely that. I want to experience that. Even if Gary doesn't go with me on that, I'll still be going on.
Well, you already alluded to it earlier, but what is next for you?
So next for us, we are going on the Disney Dream in December. So we are quite excited for that. And it's a merry time. So it's another themed ship. It's a 4-night stay. And on this time, we are stopping off at Disney's Lookout Key at Lighthouse Point again. And we are going to witness Castaway Key, which we're very excited. We are going to do maybe the 5K as well.
Such a good itinerary.
Yeah, a perfect itinerary. Love that. Well, we hope you guys have just an absolutely magical sailing. But Maggie, thank you so much for coming on and sharing your experience for your first cruise on the Disney Magic. Where can our listeners follow you?
Yeah, so I'm on Instagram and my Instagram page is called Mag's Loop. And we are also Max Magical Wonders is going to be our next name as well, because this has started us now wanting to travel on more Disney cruises.
Well, it certainly sounds like you have been bit by the bug, like many of us on this show here. But Maggie, thank you so much again for coming on and sharing your sailing. Christy, where can our listeners follow you?
You can find me at Pack Your Pixie Dust, including on my website with the same name. And Lake, where can people find you?
You can find me on Instagram and YouTube at MouseGen, and you can follow the podcast at DCL Podcast on Instagram and Facebook, and find out more information about us at DCLpodcast.com. That is going to do it for this episode. Thank you all so much for listening, and we will see you next time on the DCL Podcast. Bye, guys.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you. Bye.
Well, that's going to wrap up our show. Once again, we want to thank Maggie for coming on and sharing her adventures on the Disney Magic. If you're enjoying the show, we greatly appreciate you leaving us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. We'd also like to thank our Patreons who help make this show happen each and every week for us. You too can help support the show by visiting us at patreon.com/DCL Podcast. Whether you're boarding a cruise, enjoying a trip to the parks, or adventuring outside of Disney, on behalf of myself, Christy, and Steve, we want to wish you smooth sailing and safe travels. See you next time on the DCL Podcast.
The DCL Podcast is not affiliated with the Disney Cruise Line, Walt Disney Company, Adventures by Disney, or Run Disney. All of the opinions expressed on our shows are those of the hosts and the guests who appear on the show. If you have any questions about any of these products, please contact the Walt Disney Company.